Hey guys, so today I just want to go over some ideas for improvising and soloing, and we're going to be using the pentatonic scale and more specifically position 2 of the pentatonic scale. So if you're not familiar with these shapes yet, the pentatonic shapes, especially 1 and 2, I would look into that a bit more first. I do have some videos on my channel looking into it and showing you the shapes, but there's heaps of stuff on YouTube, so I suggest you get a bit more familiar with that before you start doing some of the stuff I will be discussing in this video. Anyway, so when I was learning to improvise and learning to solo, I came at it from a very bluesy perspective. Not only because I like the blues, but I feel like for most people, it's the lowest hanging fruit for when you're getting into improvising. The reason why is because you're using the pentatonic scale, which in of its nature is it's less notes than if you're trying to improvise using the modes. And if you can make pentatonic scales sound good, and if you can, do some good bends and really focus on how you're playing the notes as opposed to just the notes you're playing, if you can make that sound good, all the other stuff you learn in the future with scales and modes it's going to already sound good basically because you have this solid foundation of the pentatonic scale, and everything else is just you're adding more colors to that kind of sound. And I find the opposite is true as well, especially a lot of rock and metal people. They tend to think they're above learning the pentatonic scale and that it's not complicated enough for them. And then all they end up doing is they learn a few scale shapes and just kind of shred through them, and it doesn't really sound good because they're playing more with their eyes as opposed to using their ears and really like listening to the notes they're playing. So I think learning blues and learning some blues licks is a great starting point when you're getting into improvising and whatnot. So the notes that we're going to be focusing on in pattern 2 is just the notes on the high E and the B. So if I was in the key like C sharp, okay, so my pattern 1 would be here. I'm not using the key of A because I'm sick of hearing the key of A. Okay, everyone demonstrates pentatonics in the key of A, and it's good. Okay, I get it. It's simple, but my ears just can't take it anymore. So we got the key of C sharp. That would be starting pattern 1 on the 9th fret. Alright, so pattern 2 would be starting on the 12th fret. Okay, so these top 2 notes on pattern 2, you can really milk these for a lot. Okay, I have a pre-recorded loop of Born Under a Bad Sign by Albert King. And I'm just going to jam over it using just those 4 notes and being creative with my bending and whatnot. Alright, not the best playing in the world, but you get the idea. Okay, so there was a lot I got out of that, and I was only using these 4 notes. Okay, and you probably, if you listen to any blues, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Albert King, all those guys, you've probably picked up that, I've heard that sound before within their playing. So let's get into this a bit more in a bit more detail. So here's some ideas just off the cuff. So if we have these 4 notes, okay, the first thing is just bending the second note on the high E string of pattern 2. Right? That's always going to sound really good, right? If I have my loop going. Right, and the other thing I was doing is messing around with, so I was starting from the bottom and bending up, and then I would sometimes pre-bend. Right, which is where you push the string up and then bring it down. Right, that's always going to sound cool. A good way to resolve this, so after you do this, you play the next note on the string, so the 12th fret in the key of C sharp would be, and then finish off on the root note, which would be the second note in pattern 2 on the B string. Right, so right, classic blues lick. always going to sound good. Now the next thing you can do, okay, another idea is this note here. This note here on the 12th fret of the high E, okay, so the first note in pattern 2 on the high E string. If you do a little, these are called like blues bends. They're not quite I guess it would be a quarter step nearly, but don't even think of it like that. I just call these attitude bends. So if I play this root note here, this note on pattern 2, and then finish my phrases with that little bend there, that's always going to sound really cool, right? Right, that's always going to sound good. So that's a cool little note to end your phrases on, right? A little blues bend, attitude bend on that first note of pattern 2 on the high E string. Now the other thing you can do, and this is where you have to have really good bending technique, or you're going to struggle with this a lot, and I do have a whole video talking about bending in vibrato. It was the video before this one actually, so go check that out if you need help with it. But doing a whole step bend on the 12th fret of the high E, so the first note on the high E string of pattern 2 with your first finger, like that, and then resolving again to that root note's always going to sound good, right? Then if you combine that with that bend on the second note of pattern 2, right, that's always going to sound good. So far we have this nice big bend here, this bend here, and that, and we can add that little blues bend. Right, so already we got 3 kind of tools, 3 little tricks you can use. The other one is doing a full step bend on this first note of pattern 2 on the B string. Right, that's always going to sound good. And then what you can do, that's a little trick, so you like bend up to it, bend up, and then you play the second note of pattern 2 on the B string, which is actually the note that you're bending to. Albert King does this a lot. That kind of thing. Alright, so far, if I just mess around with some of those ideas without the loop or anything. Right, just some ideas. So hopefully this is all helpful, and the key with this is put on the backing track, okay, in any key. You know, you can use the key of A. Okay, I know I said some bad things about the key of A before, but it's all right. Okay, you can go to pattern 2 in that. So our pattern 1's here, pattern 2 would be here. That's another little trick actually. You can do a step and a half bend on the second note of pattern 2 on the B string, right? That's always going to sound cool. So there's some ideas, and you can practice along with your backing track. And the idea with this, it's not so much to do these specific things I'm talking about. It's more that I want you to start listening to what you're playing and realizing you don't just need to be playing new notes all the time. Okay, this is just 4 notes, but you're just being creative with them and being creative with your bending and all that kind of thing. And it's going to sound very musical, basically, because you're not just relying on playing new notes all the time. Right? You're actually listening to what you're doing, and it also requires you to be a bit more conscious about your phrasing and where you're placing notes and rhythm and things like that. Anyway, hopefully some of these ideas were helpful to you. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below, as always, and I'll get back to you. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.